All right, let's talk about the time my homeowners association decided to pick a fight with me over my solar panels. You might think this is just another annoying HOA story, but trust me, this one has a shocking twist. It all started when I decided to go green and invest a small fortune into a state-of-the-art solar panel system for my house. I did everything by the book, got the city permits, hired certified installers, and even submitted the plans to the HOA for approval. They signed off on it, no questions asked. The installation was a dream, and for the first few months, I was living in a futuristic paradise, generating my own clean energy and watching my electricity meter spin backward. Life was good. Then the letter arrived. It was from the HOA, of course, looking very official with its embossed letterhead. It stated that my solar panels violated a newly enacted aesthetic code. A new code? One they conveniently passed after approving and seeing my installation. The letter demanded I remove the entire system within 30 days or face daily fines. I was floored. I called them, emailed them, and showed up to the next board meeting with my original approval letter in hand. Their response? A shrug and a smug little speech from the board president, Mr. Henderson, about maintaining neighborhood harmony and property values. Apparently, my clean energy was disharmonious. I tried to reason with them. I explained the financial investment, the environmental benefits, and the fact that they had already given me written permission. It was like talking to a brick wall. They weren't interested in logic. They were interested in power. The fines started rolling in, piling up day after day. I refused to pay them on principle. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about the ridiculous overreach of a few petty tyrants on a power trip. I consulted a lawyer who told me I had a strong case, but it would be a long and expensive court battle. The HOA knew this. They were betting I'd just give up and comply. They bet wrong. The deadline passed, and one morning I woke up to the sound of trucks and unfamiliar voices outside my house. I looked out the window and my heart sank. A crew of workers was on my lawn, with ladders and tools, preparing to climb onto my roof. The HOA had sent them to forcibly remove my solar panels. I ran outside, still in my pajamas, telling them they were on private property and had no right to touch my house. The foreman just showed me a work order signed by the HOA. They genuinely believed they had the authority to do this. I called the police, but when the officer arrived, he said it was a civil matter, and he couldn't intervene unless things escalated. It was my word against the HOA's work order. That's when I snapped. Not in a loud, aggressive way. It was a cold, quiet snap. While the foreman was distracted on the phone with the HOA, I walked calmly back into my house. If they wanted to play games with power, then we would play. I went down to my basement, to the beautiful, complex system I was so proud of. The battery backup, the inverters, the emergency shutoffs. I had designed this system not just to power my own home, but with certain contingencies in mind. You see, when my house was built, the electrical infrastructure was set up in a peculiar way. My property line contained a crucial junction box that fed the entire block, including the homes of every single HOA board member. With a deep breath and a few deliberate flips of some very specific, very well-labeled breakers, I executed a little-known protocol I had designed myself. It wasn't a crude blackout. It was a surgical strike. I rerouted the power, isolating my home on its own battery backup and completely cutting the grid connection that fed the rest of the neighborhood loop. My lights stayed on, my fridge kept humming, but for everyone else, it was lights out. Total darkness. It took about 5 minutes for the chaos to start. Phones started ringing. I could hear confused shouts from my neighbors. The work crew on my lawn suddenly stopped, their power tools now useless. The foreman came banging on my door, demanding to know what I did. I just smiled and said, "Looks like you have a power problem. My house is fine, though. The wonders of solar, you know." His face went pale. He knew I had him. He couldn't force his crew to work without power, and he certainly couldn't fix a problem he didn't understand. Then came the phone call I was waiting for. It was Mr. Henderson, the HOA president. He was practically screaming into the phone. "What did you do? My power is out. The whole neighborhood is dark." I let him vent for a minute before calmly explaining the situation. I told him, "Your work crew is trespassing on my property to illegally remove my assets. As soon as they are gone, and I have a written guarantee from the HOA, signed by every board member that you will never harass me about my legally installed solar panels again, I might be able to find the source of your little outage." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. I could almost hear the gears turning in his head as he realized he had absolutely no leverage. He was powerless, quite literally. He tried to threaten me with lawsuits, with calling the power company. I just laughed. "Go ahead," I said. "Let them come out. Let them see the mess you've created by sending a crew to tamper with private electrical equipment. I'm sure the liability lawyers would have a field day with that." It took less than 30 minutes. The work crew packed up their gear and drove away. An hour later, a sheepish-looking board member hand-delivered a freshly printed letter to my door. It was an apology and a legally binding agreement to leave me and my solar panels alone, permanently. I read it over twice, then walked back down to my basement. With another series of flips, the lights in the neighborhood flickered back to life. The HOA never bothered me again. Sometimes, to deal with people who abuse their power, you have to remind them what it feels like to have none at all. And a little bit of clever engineering doesn't hurt either. Thanks for listening to my story. It just goes to show you should always stand up for what's right. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. See you in the next one.